This is the fifth phase of answering the call to do more with your life. I call this phase the separation because it's about breaking away from the negative influences that have been draining you so that you can have the right amount of energy to answer the call to do more with your life. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about blind spots. Sometimes you'll feel like you desperately want to move forward, but you're stuck in the same position and something's stopping you, but you're just not aware of what that is. You're aware there's something, but you don't know what it is. That's what I call a blind spot. I'm going to talk today about some things that you can do while you're having that experience. Now, first of all, I think it's good to accept that we've all got blind spots all of the time. There's always room for growth in life. We can't possibly know everything. There's always room for growth. And so blind spots are going to occur. And when you become aware of them, when you really want to move forward, but you're feeling stuck and you know there's something stopping you, but you just can't figure out what that is. And on this personal growth journey, you'll find that we talk about the layers of the onion, and we get through and you think, oh, there's another layer of the onion I've found there. And I thought I dealt with this thing, but now it's come up in a different context. There's always another layer of the onion. There's always room for growth. There'll be times when you're just not ready to see something, but you'll really be wanting to move forward. And that's when blind spots can occur. And it can be really confusing and difficult to be in a period like this. It can be really frustrating, wanting to move forward, desperately wanting change in your life, but feeling like there's something keeping you back that you don't know what it is. So this is how I would recommend to deal with a blind spot. And it's really just about remaining open to learning and perhaps not trying to force it, because the more you try and force something, the more you try and see something, the more difficult it is to see. And my experience of being in blind spots is sometimes it's just taken to stand back and get a different perspective, and I think, oh yeah, of course, that thing's been in front of me all the time, but I just couldn't see it because I was trying to force it. So it's about not trying to force it, it's about letting go and allowing things to unfold and knowing that you'll be able to see what it is you need to see when you're ready to see it. So it's about remaining open. As I said, we've all got blind spots all of the time, so that's a kind of an open-minded perspective and an intention to bring to life, to know that we've always got blind spots. I heard about an exercise this week, and this was on the Jenny Blake Pivot podcast. She spoke about a little exercise that you could do, which I really liked and I thought was really relevant for this type of scenario. And she talked about, imagine that you're in a film. You're an actor in a film and you've got a cast of characters around you, and you're looking at the situation, perhaps a situation that you're stuck in, that you want to move forward from. And consider, why is this situation happening now? Why am I surrounded by these cast of characters? What is there going on here? And what is there I can learn? What's the script here? And it's just about making that a bit of a fun exercise, standing back and looking at things from a different perspective. And that can often help to unravel the learning that you need to happen from this situation. Because I believe that, my fundamental belief and my experience has been that when I'm stuck in situations and I can't see what there is something to learn. There's always something to learn. And it's that thing I need to learn in order to move forward. The other thing you can do is ask. You can ask, what is it that I need to learn so I can move on from this situation? And asking is, again, just about having that open mind and that intention. Now, if you are religiously minded, you could call that praying. But if you're not, the word praying might be stifling to you. So just calling it asking and remaining open. And that's really, fundamentally what prayer is. It's about asking, or having that intention to remain open, to know that we don't know everything, to know that we can't achieve everything on our own. And as I said, it's just about remaining open. I just want to talk a little bit about prayer, because I had a bit of an insight to prayer last week. I had a bit of an incident last week, and it gave me a bit of a perspective on prayer. I was walking with the dog in our local area here, and during this time of year there's common land that they allow cattle and sheep to roam on. And as I pulled up into the area and I got out of the car, I heard the cattle straight away. They were making quite a lot of noise, and because I spent a bit of time around livestock, I was aware that something was probably not quite right about this situation, because they rarely make a noise when they're comfortable and relaxed. So the fact that there was quite a lot of noise going on with these cattle alerted me to something that had been going on. And because I use this area quite regularly, I was aware that what had probably happened is these cattle had been put on maybe the day before, or maybe even that morning. So the area was new to them and they were feeling unsettled. Now, if you spent any time around cattle, you know they are big animals, and having an awareness of their power and what they can do is a good thing to know. But if you're not aware, if you weren't aware of this situation, if you weren't aware of how livestock operates and how actually quite dangerous these animals can be, you probably just wouldn't take any notice of that situation. So I was aware that there was a bit of a threat, and I was walking with the dog and we came across some cattle, and they were passing through. Now they look quite placid, but they're not. Actually, somebody around this area got killed by the cattle last year. So I'm aware that this can happen. So I stood back and I watched the cattle past, and I was careful not to look them in the eye. That's always a good thing to do with animals. If they feel threatened, if they feel you're squaring up to them, they might charge you. So I was not looking them in the eye. It's a good thing to do that. So letting the cattle pass, and they were taking an interest in me and taking an interest in the dog who was hiding behind me, actually. So we let the cattle pass and we carried on, and we noticed there was another area where these cattle were, and they seem to be dotted all over the forest. And what they tend to do is they'll be finding their territory. When livestock get onto new land, they'll often roam around quite far because they'll be finding the limit of their territory, and this is their natural behaviour and what they're doing. As I said, I was aware of this. So we came across another set of cattle, and the way they were looking, there was young cattle with them, which is another bit of a warning sign that the mothers may be wanting to protect their young. And I just thought, I don't want to pass these. I'm going to turn back and come back the way I've come. Anyway, there's a reason I'm telling you this story, and that's because this story gave me a bit of an insight. I got back to the car and it was safe, and we got home. But one of the things that what I realised about prayer was that I could have prayed in that moment. I could have asked for help. I could have said, oh God, please protect me, to help me get through this situation and to help me get out and get home. And I didn't do that, and I got home safely. But what it made me realise, the realisation I got about that, is that understanding about how prayer is really aligned with intention. I was aware there was a threat there. Another person might not have been aware of that same threat in the same way. Now, I was quite safe and I got home and I was protected because I took particular actions. But what I'm trying to point out is that if I had prayed, it would have been an indication that I knew there was a threat. It would have been an indication that I knew there was something, that uncertain kind of outcome was going to happen here. So I could have asked for protection. But the mere fact that I knew that I was in that presence of that threat or that uncertain outcome is what would have motivated the prayer. So the prayer is simply an indication that you know there's some uncertainty, there's something unknown, or there's perhaps a threat that you need to be aware of. And I don't know, I mean, prayers are answered, prayers are not answered, but the fact was that I operated and I acted in a way that I knew there was a threat. I knew there was some kind of uncertainty there, so I acted in a particular way. So whether I'd have prayed or not, I would have still acted in that particular way. But, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say there. The prayer and the act of asking is simply that knowledge or demonstration of the knowledge that you're in the presence of the unknown. And a lot of this path is about being in the presence of the unknown and how to deal with that. And in the next phase, in phase 6, I'm going to talk specifically about developing the emotional resilience to be in the presence of the unknown and the uncertainty, because it's not a naturally comfortable place for human beings to be. But if we want to grow and if we want to do something unique and special with our lives, then we're going to be in the presence of the unknown. We're going to be treading untrodden paths to try and find our way through. So it's really important that we know when we're in the presence of the unknown. It's really important that we know how to deal with that. And asking or praying is just one way. And as I said, the asking and the praying is a demonstration of your intention and your understanding of the environment that you're operating in. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk a bit about trust and faith. So I hope you'll join me for that.